It gives me very great pleasure to be here today with you at this session of this seminar. I was unable to be with you earlier in the day because I had to attend another conference, but I do hope to be here often. At this session we have two papers. One is by Professor Panduranga Bhatta, who is at the Indian Institute of Management, Calcutta. I noticed that his name does not figure in this little booklet you received. It is there? Is it? Okay, well, not in my copy. And I'm happy to learn that he's now serving an institution I served earlier, Indian Institute of Management, IIM, and he's heading the Calcutta, the Management Center for Human Values from 1997. He is also Professor of Business Ethics and Communication Group. He is an alumnus of the Ramakrishna Mission, Vivekananda College, and I'm happy, I'm sure, I speak for you, every one of you, we are happy to welcome him. The second paper will be presented by Swami Sarvapriyananda, of whom I have heard quite often and whose works I have read, but today for the first time I have the pleasure of meeting him. He is the head of the Probationers College, Acharya, Principal is called Acharya, of the Probationers Training Center, and both of them would be talking to us about the contribution of Swamiji to the philosophy of education. The title of Professor Bhatta's paper is Complete Personality Development Through Education, Insights from Swami Vivekananda. Professor Bhatta.
Namaskar, and let me offer my pranams to Swami Sarvabhutanandji Maharaj, Swami Sarvapriyanandji Maharaj, and also Swami Chitrupanandji Maharaj, who worked together to bring me here. As Bhattacharya has mentioned, I am an alumnus of Vivekananda College. It's a very reputed college in Chennai. So I am very happy to go through some of the ideas of Swami Vivekananda in the context of education. So the title of the seminar itself is Significance of the Ideas of Swami Vivekananda in Modern Age. Let me admit, I am not a scholar in Swami Vivekananda studies. I am also not an educational expert. So then you may be wondering why I am here. I have started some kind of programs in the last, so to say, 6 years back to bring some kind of change in our educational system. Even though I am in management, a very reputed management institute, I started this program for primary and higher secondary schools. We got a lot of principals and teachers. We started small, so to say, 5-day programs, 3-day programs, where we started discussing what we are doing. Are we doing the right things? Are we producing the right persons for the society? These are the questions we asked. And we got a lot of insights from Swami Vivekananda. And I have applied some of these ideas. In fact, I was giving some of the books authored by Swami Vivekananda for the participants. In that context, I thought I may share some of my ideas. So let me begin with the heading, Complete Personality Development Through Education. So are we helping students to develop complete personality? What is the meaning of complete personality? What Swami Vivekananda has said about this? Okay, so now anyhow, coming to the definition of education. So I have two quotations from Swami Vivekananda, and I will try to apply what educational institutions are doing to achieve this, or so to say implement this, whatever it may be. education is the manifestation of the perfection already in man. Second quotation, all knowledge, therefore, secular or spiritual, is in the human mind. In many cases, it is not discovered, but remains covered, and when the covering is being slowly taken off, we say we are learning. So we have asked this question to educational institutions, what are we doing to help the students to remove the cover? So I have come up with various themes related to this. First is, as I said, we have to address the definition of education. What is education? Are we doing this type of thing? Second is Swamiji's thoughts on education and concerns of UNESCO. As you all know, UNESCO is the fantastic body interested in education all over the world. How Swamiji's ideas come very close to UNESCO's ideas in 21st century. I would like to discuss one or two points on that. Then I have done a small research. I have gone through the mottos of educational institutions, maybe schools, higher secondary or primary, or universities, or even IIMs and IITs. There we have a lot of interesting insight. They want to come very close to what Swami Vivekananda has said about education and imparting education. But only question is, are they doing that? Or have they stopped with vision, mission statement? This is one thing which I want to address. Then learning from religions, Swamiji was talking about religion. I am also convinced, I have one or two quotations. What type of religion Swami Vivekananda wanted us to follow? What is the help or what is the benefit that we are going to get out of that? Then finally, I will be ending with developing complete personality, the insights from modern day psychologists, emotional intelligence theory, spiritual intelligence theory, etc. So when I come to Swamiji's thoughts on education and concerns of UNESCO, I have to say these points. Universal values, tolerance and peace. Complete agreement between Swamiji and UNESCO. Humanity as one family, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, we are here. Focusing on poor and destitute, we heard Swamiji talking about the focus of Swami Vivekananda on that matter. Reducing poverty and elimination of discrimination against women. Both UNESCO and Swamiji are one. Importance of science and culture, lifelong education, need to move away from rote learning. So when I say UNESCO, the body at the international level, which is talking of inculcating these values in students, they are very close to Swami Vivekananda. I did some kind of survey of education, mottos of the educational institutions. I will just read some. Jnanam Paramam Balam, knowledge is the supreme power. Jnanam Paramam Dhyayam, knowledge is the supreme goal. Asatoma Sadgamaya, Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya, Vidyaya Amrutamashnute, Sa Vidya Ya Vimuktaye, that is knowledge which liberates. Shraddhavan Labate Jnanam, Vidya Dadati Vinayam, knowledge generates humility. Amo Badraha Kratavo Yantu Vishwataha, let good thoughts come to us from everywhere. Satyam Shivam Sundaram, truth, auspiciousness, beauty. Shraddhavan Labate Jnanam, Vidya Dadati Vinayam, Amo Badraha Kratavo Yantu Vishwataha, Satyam Shivam Sundaram. Binneshu Ekasya Darshanam, Satyam Vada Dharmam Chara, Dharmo Rakshati Rakshitaha. Charaiveti, Charaiveti, keep moving, keep moving. Udyamena hi siddhyanti karyani na manorataihi. The goal is achieved through labor, not by desire only. I was thinking of this, something I recollected, one of the favorite shlokas of Swami Vivekananda. I recollect. Udyoginam Purusha Simhamupaiti Lakshmihi, Daivena Deivati Kapurusha Vadanti, Daivam Nihatya Kuru Paurusham Atma Sektya, Yatne krite yedina siddhyati kotra dosha. Some of the educational institutions have this, of course, in another form. Then siddhir bhavati karmaja, yoga karmasu kaushalam, sharira madhyam kalu dharma sadhanam. This is taken from Kalidasa's work and one of the favorite quotes of Swami Vivekananda also. Yaha kriyavan sa panditaha. Now I come to my own institute. When we entered the 50th year, Golden Jubilee celebration, we started looking into our own policy, what type of education we are giving and all those things. And we said we need to look into our vision and how we are trying to achieve this vision. We added one or two words. Our purpose is to develop innovative, ethical and caring future leaders. We are very close to Swami Vivekananda when we have put the word like caring. But how do we do? So now we have introduced many courses. Some courses like ethics and values, which are compulsory courses for our students. Leadership and creative excellence through Indian ethos. Entrepreneurship in NGOs. In Indian ethos, what we do, we look back. For example, we look into Indian history and we learn, we discuss Ashokas, we discuss Gandhis. Morning I was looking to one of the quotations of Swamiji. We have only learned that we are nobodies. Seldom are we given to understand that great men were ever born in our country. Nothing positive has been taught to us. This is one of the greatest faults of the educational system. We don't talk of our great leaders, great, so to say, geniuses of this land. Now we have taken a lot of interest in this, and IIMC has introduced a lot of courses, particularly Creative Excellence in Management, where we talk of Kautilya's, Patanjali's, Panini's, like that, and leadership we talk of Gandhi's, Vivekananda's and others. And very interestingly, we wanted to put some kind of theme line when we entered the Golden Jubilee year. There was no theme line in our motto, in our logo. So I developed this Jnanam Sarvahitaya that was accepted as the best theme line. Knowledge for the benefit of all. The students going out of our institute should think that whatever knowledge they gain through us, they should use for the benefit of all. This is a very interesting thing. Recently, another very interesting new institute like IIM Ranchi approached me to design a course actually. Before doing developing the course, I wanted to know what they want to do. I went to their vision statement. Core values to be imparted to students. What? Humility, honesty, hard work for individual and corporate success, holistic development of individual, institution and the society at large, harmonious coexistence with the environment and the society at large. How they want to do? This is a very interesting thing happening in the last 2 years. They started teaching Indian culture, yoga and meditation, Indian ethos, and they asked me to develop one course called Indian Philosophy, Society and Inner Development. I just completed last week, where we talk Bhagavad Gita. Of course, Swamiji also referred to that, Nishkam Karma and all those things. I am very happy even these great institutes have started focusing on some missing dimension in our education. And when we look into Ahmedabad, of course, they are number 2 and IIMC is number 1. So they also have this wonderful slogan or motto, Vidya Viniyoga Vikasa. What Swami Vivekananda said long back. Spread, he said education, education, education only. So now if you want to develop society, without education, we can't develop society. And when I looked into Bangalore, IIM Bangalore, for example, they have taken from one of the Upanishads, Tejasvina Varitamastu. They have explained the meaning of all other lines also. Let us not hate, let us not carry any negative feeling and all those things. Then came Tiruchi, IIM Tiruchi. One of my colleagues became the director of that institute, and he was knowing that I contributed 2 theme lines to IIMC. One was accepted, Jnanam Sarvahitaya, another was pending. So he asked me, can we accept that? I said, I don't have any copyright. This is taken from one of the Upanishads. You are free to accept. So they have accepted that. Jnanam Anantam. Knowledge is endless. See, when you learn something from a teacher or from other process, why you become arrogant? That is the issue. So I said, Swami Vivekananda also in one of his speeches, he said, humility should be the core
of students. So this particular institute is trying to make them humble through these things. Now I read one or two very interesting quotations. The present system of education is all wrong. The mind is crammed with facts before it knows how to think. In fact, when I read this, I thought of Panchatantra. Of course, learned audience here, they don't need any introduction to Panchatantra. I may say the beginning of Panchatantra. What happened? The three sons of the king, they were not interested in learning, but they were good, they were not dullard. And king was in a dilemma-like situation. He did not want to make them princes without educating them. He asked it, of course he announced it, and no takers for that. And finally he said, whoever makes my sons educated in public administration, I am ready to give 100 land grants. And Vishnu Sharma at the age of 80 accepted that. And many people poo-pooed. They said, you are 80 plus, why you are taking this? But Vishnu Sharma was very bold because he was knowing what was lacking was how to think methodology, not what to think methodology. And he accepted, and first class, because we have done a lot of research in this particular area, he probably told, you know, I am not going to teach. Then everyone was surprised. Our father told that he has got a teacher to teach us, and you are telling you are not going to teach. What are you going to do? First time these children scratched their head how to think. Dilemma-like situation. Father said he has got a teacher, and this person is telling I am not going to teach. Then they asked the question, what are you going to do, sir? He told, I am going to tell stories. Now it is history, composing 600 stories. He made them good in public administration in 6 months' time. Now we have applied some of the educational philosophy to that particular text. We got fantastic ideas. Our students worked on that. They said, if one reads Panchatantra, of course, how to think methodology, they become good in creative thinking, they become good in holistic thinking, they become good in emotional intelligence. We have neglected. So what Swami says in the next quotation, all my life I am repeating what Jacques said and John said, never say anything myself. Why we are not asking our students to think critically, think independently? Why they should be carried away by somebody else's opinion? And this is very interesting. Teach them history, geography, science, literature, and along with these, the profound truths of religion. Now, C.K. Prahalad and many others have come to the same conclusion, multidisciplinary teaching, multidisciplinary learning should be there. If you want to make them creative, you teach all this, literature, science and religion. Of course, as Swamiji has clarified, by the study of different religion, we find that in essence they are one. There are differences in non-essentials, but in essentials, there are, whether it is Hinduism or Christianity or Buddhism. So I have this fantastic quotation from Ashoka long back, 2300 years back. He got it inscribed in one of the stones. All religions should reside everywhere, for all of them desire self-control and purity of heart. Now we come to why Swami Vivekananda tells that we should encourage learning from religions. In fact, IIMs who are not interested in this particular area, now they are also coming. They are also open to this, if there is any learning. So finally I said, what is there in learning? How do we learn from, what do we learn from religion? Any religion, for example, Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, like that. Teaching devices are very important for us, memorization, group singing and storytelling. Teaching outcomes are there. So we should focus on the teaching outcomes. So acquiring knowledge and skill, respecting one's own faith, that is the starting point. Then showing respect towards all faith, Mahatma Gandhi, Swami Vivekananda, all pointed out this, understanding unity in diversity. I always quote one wonderful story from Kathamrita. For this, people ask me, why do we read stories? Kathamrita, for example. I say, you read Pandit and the boatman story, that's enough. So one is knowledge, another is skill. Knowledge created some kind of arrogance, and he asked many questions. Have you read Vedas? Have you read Puranas? Have you read? And when boat was about to sink, boatman asked only one question. Panditji, do you know how to swim? That's all. So Panditji said 3/4 of your life gone because you did not study all these things. And boatman said, if I am not helping you, whole of your life will be gone shortly. So that is wonderful. I think we should get back to what Swami Vivekananda said. I think covering that how to remove that cover. This is one methodology. Now in US they tried concept-based learning, case-based learning. The latest is they are coming to the storytelling. So I said we started long back, probably 5th century AD, and Kadamrita and fantastic collections are there. So we should get back to this. And now my paper main focus is complete personality development. What I mean physical, mental, spiritual, emotional. Physical, yoga and other exercises, we know. Mental, we have to give challenging exercises to our students. Emotional, how we treat them and how we develop emotions in them, how they become emotionally competent to deal with the society. And spiritual, I don't want to go into that. Swamiji has already given a lot of ideas. But if you ask me how spirituality is understood in management, because I am right now from the Management Institute, so spirituality is the basic feeling of being connected with one's complete self. Whatever I said, physical, emotional and all those things. Interconnectedness. Last year, December 1st, Dalai Lama was with us actually. He was telling only on this interconnectedness or interdependence. Understand interdependence, you understand spirituality. So some more details in management literature. That is what Swami Vivekananda also said. Life is sacred actually. Amritasya putra. Sacred element is within oneself and within each living beings. Do we understand, do we help students to appreciate this? Regardless of extreme differences, we share a commonality. And from this sacred commonality springs core values of human decency. And if we honor these values, they influence our decisions and relationships. Daniel Goleman is the champion of emotional intelligence. He has written 2-3 books. What he is asking us to concentrate is nothing but what Swami Vivekananda and others told long back. Self-awareness. I say, Upanishads told Atmanam Vidhi. Understand who you are. Plato said, know thyself. We thought we will address this when we enter sannyasa ashram, but it is not like that. Most of the management institutes are starting with this particular question, who am I? Why I joined this school? Why I took this subject? If you don't answer this, you will not progress. Self-regulation. See, when I look into Patanjali's yoga, even Swami Vivekananda also has said that yama and niyama. So most of the time we give lot of importance to asana and pranayama. But Patanjali's scheme, it starts with yama and niyama. I remember one very interesting dialogue that Jiddu Krishnamurti entertained in one BBC interview. Interviewer asked Jiddu Krishnamurti, what is your opinion about meditation? Jiddu Krishnamurti said meditation is useless. And interviewer could not ask the question within 1 minute. He said, our telecast is live. Whole world is watching. Hindus are watching, Christians are watching. They give a lot of importance to meditation. If you say meditation is useless, we may have to stop. Then Jiddu Krishnamurti told, please try to understand in what sense I say meditation is useless. Then the interviewer said, go on. Then Jiddu Krishnamurti gave one word, put your house in order. Then you meditate. That means yama and niyama. So somehow in our education systems, we don't talk of yama and niyama, all those ahimsa, satya and all those things. We straight away go to asanas and pranayama. This may not be good also. And when I say UNESCO, this is the current model. In all schools, they are asking them to concentrate on this. 4 pillars of education, learning to know, learning to do, learning to live together, learning to be. And recently, Harvard Business School professor Shrikant Datta, he studied the problem of management schools. Curriculum, are they teaching, are they helping students in becoming good citizens, value-abiding citizens, etc. And he said, no, they are not doing. So he brought a wonderful book, Rethinking the MBA. In that, he has taken ideas from this also. He says, knowing, doing, being. Knowing, doing, all management institutes, all education institutes are doing. But being is the value part. So that is neglected and we should get back to that. The last point, I'll complete. The lifelong education. When I look into learning organization concept or 5th discipline concept, so I think of Ramakrishna's statement, as long as I live, so long do I learn. This has started from a very interesting Sanskrit shloka. Acharya Padamadatte Padam Shishya Swamedaya Padam Sabrahmacharibhya Padam Kalakramena. But that Kalakramena is don't come to some kind of arrogant position that you have mastered everything, you learn. And Swami Vivekananda has said, this is a very interesting quotation, all teaching implies giving and taking. The teacher gives and the taught receives. But the one must have something to give. This is the focus on teacher. So I say, if you are giving, what you give, how you accept the first principle, lifelong learner. What have you updated your knowledge, or what are you giving to your student? The lifelong learning is very beautifully expressed in that particular sloka. I just translated that. 1/4 comes from the teacher, 1/4 from our own efforts, and 1/4 from the seminars and classmates, and lifelong learning, the last one. And what do we learn? Here we make two very important parts. One is the Paravidya and the Aparavidya. Because this gathering knows when I say Para is spiritual, Apara is the professional academic knowledge. And this produces humility in people and worthiness. Just this is the translation of Vidya Dadati Vinayam Vinayat Jati Patrata Patratva Dhanam Apnoti Dhanat Dharmam Tatas Sukham. So I have completed, of course within the time frame given to me, I just try to put before you some of the ideas Swami Vivekananda, how educational institutions are also grappling with to practice or to implement these ideas. Thank you.
This was a marvelous presentation. I don't know what's been the practice till now, but I propose that we discuss this paper now and then go on to the next, not to take two papers together. Now, as regards this paper, I would invite questions, but I am so full of anxiety to know the answer to one question I have in mind. I'll put it first, but you may look at it last of all in course of your answers. And this is that you were quite right in saying that the Institute of Management in Calcutta initially did not have this orientation to ethical education, educating the participants in their courses in ethics of business. And I'm thankful to you for your very nice exposition of the manner in which it is being done now and the role that you have played in it, right from the logo and the words they choose as the mission statement down to the courses that they offer. However, there is one question which bothers me, and it is this, that if indeed the basic motivation which drives business and commerce is something like profit, which is basically something that develops a kind of self-regarding attitude. What would happen if there were conflicts between the ethics you teach and the profit motives that drives business and commerce? What has been your own experience, I would like to know, because while on the one hand we are looking at what in economics we call the supply side, what we are putting into education, we must look at also what is the outcome. In terms of outcome, what have you seen in your experience as the fruitful outcome of business, of ethics in business, education in that? Thank you. I would now invite questions because it has been a very interesting.
Just a comment.
Swami Sarvabhayananda.
Just a comment, Professor Bhatta, thank you for that beautiful presentation. Especially I found the section on the slogans you have connected from different institutions very interesting, very evocative. The slogan which you have given to, the motto which you have given to IIM Calcutta, Jnanam Sarvahitaya, just reminded me of what Swami Vivekananda said in an inspiring talk to the monks of Belur Math. He said, sannyasa means doing good to others. And there he says, what good is your learning if it does not do good to others? Jnanam Sarvahitaya. So that just really reminded me of that. And I would like the presentation later on, the collection of mottos.
Thank you.
Professor Mukhopadhyay, please.
Two of the small. One is, in the collection, one assertion was Shastam Shivam Sundar, along with others. But this was your information, this is not a Upanishad mark. That's one. It should create a confusion. That is one.
Pardon, no, I am not able to get the point. What you said?
Shastam Shivam Sundar
Yeah.
is not an Upanishad mark.
No, I did not say that all these are things. No,
If you are all right, that's okay.
No, there's a misconception, a common misconception is attributed to some very sacred
No,
text
no,
and so on.
no.
Actually, it isn't.
Okay.
Second thing is about this use of meditation. And this is another information for you. There is one very important text, Ashtavakra Gita, which has said there's no need for it. That's the one. The third thing is this about this, what Professor Bhattacharya also raised this question about
Business.
conflict of interest, and that is being put in this way, that the essential problem is the problem, what's called duality of practicalism. The practicalism on the one hand wants that it is practically rational to do what gratifies your interest. And the same practicalism also says that it is rational to do what is your duty. So the duty and interest, they both come from same practicalism and the conflict, and therefore it becomes all the more difficult to reconcile the two. So I think you will be doing it. And another one point, that two divisions of knowledge, the para and the paravidya, they are normally understood. Knowledge which is called useful and knowledge which is saving knowledge and useful knowledge. I think it is
The bigger answer
saving knowledge and useful knowledge. Or I
Yes, madam.
What is
Should I
saving knowledge?
answer some of
I
these
think we'll collect the questions
all the
and
questions.
then.
I'll start from you.
No, madam, no
Yes, madam.
question. I just wanted what is saving, the other thing what you said. But, sir, saving knowledge.
and useful knowledge.
Saving, S-A-V-I-N-G. Saving knowledge.
Saving, yes. Which saves you.
Okay.
Knowledge that saves.
Yes.
Yes, madam.
Actually, it was really very nice to see how the management education is planned for the betterment of the persons who are going for such a stressful job. And I just want to know it's practical, that we get to see and get to in the newspaper and get to see people as well. Even though I know that you have introduced meditation, ethics, even performing art for managing the manager's skill on the emotional pressures and other things, and with the profit motive that Professor Bhattacharya now had said. But how far this is taking really giving a result, because we find that from the Western world, the corporate sectors, they have a different kind of pressure, and how you are helping these people to get through and not to commit suicide or not to go into depression. That what we get to see nowadays in the newspaper, even among people who we know that all of a sudden they just go bereft because they are under such a pressure of their job.
Thank you, Professor. Any other question? Yes, sir.
In our ancient system, there is Sravana, Manana, and Nididhyasana. And in recent time, in Western countries, they started retain, recall, and reconstitute. And this particular portion has been totally lost in the Macaulay education. How this portion is going to be taken care by the Indian educational system to gain back, that is one. And number two, if we see all our ancient systems, the great discoveries, they have come through intuition. It is a sort of knowledge gathering. And that knowledge gathering has been so far after the Macaulay education totally lost. How this conglomerate also is going to come and help us, the Indians, to regain our old, the spiritualization or whatever the educational values. What Swamiji also emphasized. Sravana, Manana, Nididhyasana, and intuition.
If you go through the works of Swamiji, you can see one of the most important point is what he stressed was not value orientation, but reality orientation. If the students who come out, they study Western science and physics, chemistry, and they get their understanding of their personality and about the world outside is entirely shaped by physical, materialistic views. No amount of value education, but trusting values upon a materialistic basis. Whereas Swamiji, what he did was, he gave his education, basic idea was to give reality orientation, to teach. Swamiji said even the fishermen, the students, they should be taught their real nature, the Atman. Swamiji says, teach everyone his real nature, and then purity will come, goodness will come, all that is excellent will come. When the soul is aroused to self-conscious activity. So unless we give them the reality orientation, unless we tell them about their real nature, that is enough. As soon as they come to know there is potential dignity within, and it is the manifestation, things will come automatically. Simply trusting values, and these values, as once the planning commission sent to us 80 values, they sent to be inculcated. 80 values, no end at all. How this is more difficult than passing in physics and MSc in physics or chemistry. So that's why reality orientation, unless that is done, that is the foundation of Swami Vivekananda's educational vision.
Thank you, Swamiji. I think we have to
I'll briefly answer. The first question, the conflict, the students are profit-oriented, they are going to join profit-oriented organizations, and you are talking about these things. What has happened now all over the world, this realization has come. Too much of greed is bad, and what they have done, for example, individuals or organizations to the society and to the nations. So now so many auditing have been placed in the management or in the organized social auditing, environmental auditing. Now if they are not going to get some kind of ideas how to save environment, how to save society, they are not going to become good leaders. So that is the foundation. Now one thing, only profit orientation, that is short term. So we are helping them to focus on the long term. That means they have to make money. I'm very happy, real whatever, they have to face the society and they have to understand themselves, and they have to of course protect the environment. There is no conflict as such. And I will quote Guru Charan Das, the latest book, Difficulty of Being Good. After serving Chief India's head of Procter & Gamble, and he has written that book. And in the beginning he quotes what Vyasa shouted several thousand years back. Urdhva bahur viraumyesha dharmadhartascha kamascha sakhimartam nasevyate. So now our students have come to, we are telling, even Indian, the value system or the human needs, they talked of dharma, artha, kama, moksha. Of course, even if you say dharma and, for example, artha and kama, that is there already. But only thing is not at the cost of dharma. Now this is taking shape, and students are really interested. Particularly, I did not mention, now we are getting a lot of foreign students in our exchange program. The moment we talk, we invited Swami Sarvapriyananda to talk to them. They said, we never hear such things in our educational institution. It is high time you talk, you please keep, you promote. So that also inspired us to do more about these things. And Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana, all these things are taken care of. There are various sessions in our various courses. I am not going deep into that. And many suggestions came, and I accept. I don't know whether there is time, for example, to answer. Last, I think intuition, that's a fantastic thing. In one of the programs, I think what we call creative excellence in management.
we have 1.5 hour sessions to develop intuition, where we use ancient methods, the Jnana Yoga, Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Raja Yoga, or storytelling methodology, and the removing the impurities of the mind, what is taught in our religion, what are the impurities, greed and all those things. This has become very important, and now Steve Jobs, of course, who recently passed away, also talked of that, and he told Indians are intuitive by nature. Now that is the very important thing for us. Steve Jobs, Apple. He said that he was in Varanasi actually. He said Indians have the knack of solving problems through intuition. I 100% agree with you, whatever you said, and now we are helping them to get into this intuitive mode. Even in Panchatantra, when I said, Vishnu Sharma Swamiji also commented, how much you learn, knowledge is like an ocean. Vishnu Sharma also said same thing, knowledge is like an ocean. I will give you a strategy using which you will be able to get the essence of that. Swamiji and Vishnu Sharma are one in that. We interpret that as intuition. I think I should not cut into Sarvapriyan this time.
I must say that I had to.
Jokes I don't accept. All Indians are intuition. They are basically.
No. That is, whether you accept or not, this is the statement made by Steve Jobs. Even I don't accept that. But I just brought it to the notice that he made, that's all. His authority accepted a management circle. Students will be interested if I tell like this. So, see, my idea is to bring them to intuition. If you tell that Patanjali talks of intuition, they will not be listening to me. If I say Steve Jobs talks of intuition, they come to my fore. There is the matter. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bring it to your notice that Americans, they started the strategic intuition. The strategic intuition, and just to bring it to the notice of the people, the reason is that the recent wars, if we see all the wars that are happened, all the Americans, of course, this is not the right platform to write this one, but still I did to bring it. The Americans, they are just wondering why they have lost the war in spite of the highest intellectualism as well as the highest financial resources. But whereas Indians, never they lost, they waged the war, nor they lost the war, nor they could be won by anybody all over the world in so far. What is the reason? And they found that intuition is one of the fundamental things, as what rightly he said, the Indians are highly possessive of this intuitive knowledge. So strategic intuition has been made as one of the subject in America. So I think the Indians, whether we have to wake up for this one, probably revered how Bajnan Maharaj probably could throw a light on this one of how this intuitive knowledge can get into the Indian educational system. Maybe.
Thank you, and these are great ideas. However, what is intuitive is, I suppose, inborn, and I've always been casting a faith in a more bread and butter approach to education, which is imparting knowledge.